family, I'm back with you with another new class. This time it is number 6. Today's topic is how to properly use peroxides in hair dyes and how to choose the right dye. When you say, I have brown hair and I want to go medium blonde, what peroxide should I use? Most stylists, hairdressers, and dyers think that when applying a dye, the more peroxide they use, the lighter and more perfect the hair color will be. I want to tell you that this is not the case. Now I'll tell you how the dye works with peroxide. What peroxide does is lighten whether the pigments are natural or artificial. And what are the natural colors? These are those that do not have permanent artificial coloring, that is hair that has never been dyed early. Many people think that peroxide gives hair color. This is not the case. Peroxide provides oxidation to the hair so that the color of the dye penetrates, and the more oxidation, the less color contribution there is. That is, it opens the cuticle so that the color can be deposited in. This oxidation occurs regardless of the volumes we use. They all perform the same function, which is to dilute the natural or artificial pigments in the capillary tube, and this is called oxidation. The less oxidation we use, the more color we contribute still. That is, if you use a low peroxide, you will get a higher concentration of pigment in your hair. That's why when we apply tint to highlights or color to bleached hair, we use 10 mmol volume peroxide because this ensures greater pigmentation and in turn helps us neutralize unwanted undesirable scabies highlights. Remember, this is for color application only. Always remember that the more volume you use, the lower percentage of tone you will achieve. For example, if we bleach with a 20 or 30 volume peroxide and coloring powder, I recommend applying the color with 10 volumes because oxidation already exists. All we want is to add color. You might think, because I read it in the comments, that if you apply the dye with more volume, you will deposit more color and get the desired tone in less time. And it is not like that. You will get a diluted dull tone. Another important point you should do is respect the exposure time of each peroxide. Here I leave you the table where I specify the post times. Would you like to learn how to cut hair, create image designs, and much more? This channel is designed especially for you, so I invite you to subscribe and tap the bell to activate notifications. Another misconception is that the longer you leave the dye in your hair, the firmer the tone will be. That is incorrect because each peroxide has its own exposure time. During this time, the volumes of oxygen are released, leaving pure water in our hair. Remember that the composition of peroxide is H2O2, and when the O2 is released, we will have the composition of water, H2O. We must respect the time according to the volumes of each peroxide, because after the exposure time has elapsed, it no longer has any effect. It will no longer continue to lighten. It will no longer continue to deposit color. Now we will explain how to correctly select the dye for the application. The dye colors come in 10 shades from 1, which is black or matte, to 10, which is an extra light blonde F. This is important for you to know, so that when choosing to dye your hair, you can consider what shade you want and how to choose it. First of all, you should know that normal dyes lighten your hair by 2, and sometimes if your natural hair is light, they can lighten your hair by up to 3 shades, except for super lightening dyes that lighten your hair by up to 4 shades. Example 1. If your hair is dark brown, level 3, you can only lighten it to a light brown, level 5. So you have a 3, you're gonna lighten 2 shades, then you're going to go to brown. If you have a shade 3, you will lighten to a CCO level, which is a light brown. Example number 2. If your hair is light brown, which is a level 5, you can only lighten it to medium blonde, which is 7. You're on 5 and you're gonna get a 7, which is a medium blonde. If you want a lighter color, for example, a height 9, which is a light blonde, you will have to bleach your hair and then apply the dye to get that tone 9. When will you need a color extraction? When you want to lighten dyed hair to a lighter shade than your current hair, when bleaching is necessary. Ko musho dole geni. If your hair is virgin and you want to apply a dye shade that is more than 4 levels lighter than your natural color. If you want to dye your hair, get highlights or get color effects that look perfect, something very important to know is that you should always use enough delicate kini. If your hair often becomes dull and your color fades too quickly, these are signs that you didn't use enough dye, or perhaps you didn't follow the formula as directed by the supplier. That is why it is important to respect the formulation and the posing times. This has been our 6th class. If you have any questions, please remember to leave your comments below. Remember, family, your comments are very important to me because they are what guide me in making new videos. I send you a big hug and many blessings. See you in the next video.